I feel like I have things in my pocket. Like,
Nah, you good.
all right, okay,
Oh,
cool.
yo, you got something right here. Whatever this is.
Yeah, choose. Yeah, I just don't want it
That's
to
a
be.
picture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's whatever.
So we had the Black Footwear Forum,
Yes,
Detroit, 2023.
yes,
We met at the last one.
yes. At this point, you're my brother.
We family.
Yeah, we
At this
family
one.
at this point.
At this one. At this one, which probably wouldn't have happened without BFF.
That's a fact.
This is beautiful,
That's a fact.
you know. So I know you, but who am I here with?
Well, you here with the best. You rocking with the best right now. I just want to say peace to everybody. My name is Sonya Harris. I'm the owner, creative director of IAM.ECCENTRIC, which is a woman's focused streetwear and lifestyle brand that's primarily focused for Black and brown women to be represented, celebrated, and heard and seen in all spaces. It's basically embracing who you are, staying true to yourself, and all things in between. But in 2016, I basically observed the market and I seen that basically there was in a male dominated industry, it wasn't that many female brands. Coming up when I was in high school, there were brands such as Married to the Mob, Hell's Bells, Dime Piece LA. And even before that, we can start with the OGs such as April Walker with Walker Wear. From what I knew, that was the only template of what we seen. So for my generation, as being a part of a millennial, I didn't see much of that anymore. So I kind of observed the market. I seen that there was a need, and I was there to basically be the problem solver. And that's why I started Homegirls Supporting Homegirls back in 2016. And I've been rocking heavy with that, which is a movement based on homegirls supporting homegirls worldwide.
I love that. I love that. You said something very important about observing the market and research.
Yes.
Right. And that being a common theme, even throughout some of the discussions here. When you get started, you got to do your homework.
Absolutely.
Right. Talk about in your own perspective, in your own experience, how important that was for starting your brand.
To me, research is everything, not even just dealing with a brand. I feel like you should research anything you have interest in. Sometimes not even that. Sometimes it's good to do research on things that you might not have interest in because those can be conversation starters in any room you want to be in. I always believe in try to be the master of your craft in any way. And the best way to do that is to proper planning prevents poor performance. So the more that you have research and insight and knowledge on whatever you're doing, the better you'll probably have chances at sitting at the round table. My thing of like how I took that approach was outside of going to school and starting with things like that. I took internships. I've worked with some of the best in the industry. And that's another thing too. Don't be afraid to be an intern. Don't be afraid to do things for free because sometimes those free gestures or those free gems is like priceless. And that can be better than any type of paycheck. So I feel like knowledge is priceless. Gaining access to certain resources is priceless. And taking an advantage of doing your research and doing insights can be an advantage overall in business and personal life.
You mentioned another thing, like not even just the early stages of starting your brand, but just in general. It's important not only to do the research, but get in and do the work. Don't be afraid to take those internships. Even if the payoff isn't monetary, the knowledge has its own set of wealth.
Absolutely.
And from your experience being in those rooms and being around industry at that level, and the theme of BFF being culture is currency. Nobody knows culture better than the people that are part of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm coming from specifically from the footwear space.
Yes.
But it goes to apparel too. It's a fluctuating relationship. What might we and others be able to do to help foster that relationship so that it's not such a fluctuating gap? It could be a little bit more sustainable.
That's a great question. I personally feel like right now that is a buzzword and a buzz term, and I do think that is being thrown out loosely. And I feel like what ways that we can help of bridging that gap and closing that gap of like making sure that it's closer is that we have to educate ourselves but each other. I also don't think that it should apply to just Black people. I think overall, I feel like some of the best conversations I've had when it comes to culture or dealing with the industry and making them coexist can be people outside of your own race. But I think as it's our due diligence, since we are the original people and we are the origin of culture, that we have to bring it back to all, not just ourselves, because that's basically, to me, in my perspective, that's basically like gatekeeping. And I think that the more that we spread the knowledge that we have, not just with each other, but to like all, then I'm sure that that will help bridge the gap. And I think that it's all about exchanging because once you give things out, you don't understand what might come back in return of the exchange of just because it like within us, like us being Black people, we talk about culture with like us being Black, like, okay, this is the culture, but are we educated on other cultures? And when we do that exchange, imagine how much the impact we might have on expanding overall on what the term of culture is. So I just firmly believe do the knowledge and do the wisdom, and you'll have a better understanding.
Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
Do the knowledge, do the wisdom, and then you'll have a better understanding, which can bring about culture, which is our way of life.
It's our way of life. You mentioned understanding different cultures, right? And I
Yes.
think you really hit the nail on the head with that one because we can get really wrapped up and immersed with everything that's transpired to us over these past generations of really just protecting and the survival mindset of protecting our own and doing it in spaces like this, where obviously these are safe spaces. But then when we
Absolutely.
talk about, again, culture as currency,
Yep.
currency in the world is an exchange, right? Just like
Absolutely.
you were saying, right? There's the US dollar, there's the British pound, the
Mhm.
euro,
Yep.
there's the yen, et
Yep.
cetera, et cetera. And it's a world economy.
Yep.
What, in your own perspective, would you like to see or do you think we can achieve as a culture when we look at it from a global perspective?
That's a great question. Also, I feel like from a global standpoint, for example, I'm talking from personal experience right now. I'm having conversations with people in Abu Dhabi. I'm having conversations with people in Nigeria. I'm having conversations with people in Ghana. And what I'm finding is it's the same thing, just in a different location that's going on. And I think sometimes people are afraid to go outside of their comfort zone, whether that's geographically, mentally, financially, whatever the case may be. Sometimes I feel like upon our culture of being Black people, we put burdens on ourselves to not allow us to globally expand mentally or physically. And I feel like the more that we're able to go out, for example, I applaud you because I'm aware of you going to Barcelona. That's not a lot of things that would be a typical thing that somebody, especially a Black man, would say, okay, I'm about to get up and go do this. But you took the due diligence to go out there, and I'm sure you was able to reap the benefits of getting the knowledge, accessing things that people don't know about, but also being able to be like the way I look at it is like being that chief Indian to bring it back. Like, yo, like this is what's going on over here that a lot of people might not be able to have that conversation about. And also I'm sure you gave back priceless gems out there where it's like, yo, like we could tap in with MJ for this. And I think it just begins with just doing that, like getting outside of your comfort zone, not putting mental blocks on yourself and just going to get it and realizing that it's not just within the circumference of where you're from, learning how to expand outside of that because the biggest plays, the biggest moments might happen outside of your comfort zone. So you got to get outside.
I couldn't agree more, and thank you so much for because yeah, I had to go up and
Yeah,
get it,
for sure.
um,
For sure.
and be out there for 2 weeks.
But that's fine. Like, who's really doing that? People not doing that. Competitive advantage.
Mm,
Competitive advantage. While
absolutely,
everybody's going left, you go right.
I hear that. You do the knowledge,
Do the knowledge, y'all.
do the wisdom, you have a better understanding.
Absolutely.
Last but not least, as we look ahead to next year,
Yep.
whether it's at local chapters or the national forum, what would you like to see more of as we move forward?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say shout outs to Black Footwear Forum, Pensacola Lewis College, everything. Like, I graduated from college. I went to LIU Brooklyn for undergrad. I majored in marketing and management. For graduate school, I went to LIM College and I graduated with my retail management and fashion merchandising master's degree. But I say that to say, in New York, we don't have nothing like this. And I'm sure if we did, I would probably have went. And I feel like with Dr. Dwayne Edwards and the amazing things that he's doing of giving back to the community, the culture, and to just students who ever want to learn. I just feel like that's so pivotal. So I just want to say thank you for that because it takes somebody to really want to push things forward, but to be like selfless, not just think about themselves, but to think about others. Because Dr. Dwayne Edwards could have easily just been like, all right, I made my money, I did what I had to do, now I'm gonna just keep it pushing. But no, he took the due diligence to say, you know what? These are the hurdles I went through. These are the obstacles I went through, and I broke down a lot of doors. But I'm gonna make sure that the door stays open for people after me. And he didn't have to do that. So I definitely applaud him for that and having this amazing space for all of us to be able to come to on a yearly basis to do these amazing things. So that's for one. My thing is for next year, I feel like everything, I think it's just getting better and better. It's going to get bigger and bigger. And I will make sure I'm here next year as well because at this point, this is family to me. Anybody that comes here, I make sure last year, one of my closest friends, Vashi, shout outs to Vashi, she's also in the footwear space. She brought me here. And when I tell you, I've been to a lot of events and it was nothing like this. That's what Pensole is all about and Black Footwear Forum is all about. It's about connecting with like minded creatives and entrepreneurs and everybody in between, but also learning how to have that exchange and keep it going. And that's what we do. So for next year, I just would want to keep seeing it just to keep growing. I would think it would be a dope thing for us to have maybe more activations. I think that the knowledge is good, but I also think that we should be open to all ages or be more youth friendly because I do feel like a lot of the panel talks were surrounded by senior level and qualified people, but I think sometimes people just want to hear from the person that's aspiring or having that candid conversation with kids that don't know where to look or don't know where to go, but they can see themselves in somebody that might not be at a such established level where they could say, "Oh, you know what? I identify with her. She represents where I'm from. She represents where I'm going to." And I also feel that that would be a great initiative because of the fact to some people that's just starting out, it could be intimidating. It could be very intimidating to say, "Okay, I'm trying to figure this out, but the president of Adidas is here. How do I even approach them?" Because they might not feel qualified. So I think that having an in between of that would be an amazing initiative. I thought it was great that this year that they had classrooms and the breakout sessions. I love those because I feel like those were just as intimate as the auditorium. But I would definitely say for sure the activations, we could go crazier with the activations, maybe even for people like myself, aspiring entrepreneurs or footwear designers, maybe we could have a day of displaying ourselves, displaying these things to the presidents and the people that are the change makers behind the scenes, where they can see like what we're doing. Like, oh, well, I like this. I might want to take this for next season. So I think that we could do more things on the side of like exchanging outside of just having a conversation. I think we could really try to create more of that experience on a one-on-one basis and in a closer knit basis for sure.